My sweetheart, the universe is not poor. It is rich beyond measure. The gold that glitters in the earth, the silver that sleeps in the mountains, the abundance of harvest in the fields, all proclaim the eternal truth. Supply is limitless for the one who believes. Poverty is not a punishment, it is a misunderstanding. Wealth is not a sin, it is divine order. When you align yourself with the laws of prosperity, money flows to you as naturally as the river finds the sea. Money is not merely paper or coin, it is energy, a spiritual current that takes form according to the thoughts that shape it. If you see money as a struggle, it flees from you. If you see it as a friend, loyal and obedient, it comes joyfully into your hands. The invisible always precedes the visible, and so your financial world begins in thought, in the silent workshop of your mind. Every debt, every lack, every limitation is born first in fear and doubt, but faith, gratitude, and purpose can turn scarcity into overflow. Let us remember there is no lack in divine mind. When you say, "I never have enough," you speak words that create lack. When you declare, "I live in an abundant universe," you open the gate for prosperity to rush in. Words are seeds, they grow after their kind. If you speak struggle, you will live it. If you speak wealth, wealth must obey. Life mirrors your inner beliefs with perfect accuracy. The first lesson is faith. Faith that your supply is already prepared for you, waiting for your recognition. The second is gratitude, for gratitude multiplies what you have and calls forth more. The third is forgiveness, for resentment clogs the channel of abundance. You cannot receive freely while holding another in bondage of blame. Release all bitterness, and your finances will rise on wings of light. Money loves order, purpose, and clarity. It comes where it feels welcomed and useful. Treat every dollar as a trusted messenger of good. Do not waste it. Do not fear it. Use it with wisdom and it will bring its friends. Give with joy, for giving and receiving are the same motion of one hand. The tide that goes out must come in again. You are not meant to chase money, you are meant to magnetize it. Your true wealth is in your consciousness. When your thoughts are rich in faith, love, and purpose, your outer world must reflect that richness. The invisible law cannot be broken. As within, so without. So open your heart to the infinite flow. Know that abundance is your birthright. Stand firm in the belief that life supports you in all things. The lessons that follow are not rules to labor under, but keys to freedom, to unlock the golden gates of prosperity that have always waited for you. You are the heir to divine supply. Step forward and claim it. Faith opens the channel of supply. Faith is the unseen bridge between the invisible and the visible, the key that unlocks every door of limitation. When you walk by faith, you are walking in divine partnership with the law of abundance. It is not blind belief or idle hope, but a deep knowing that what you ask for is already yours in the unseen realm. Faith is the inner assurance that supply is constant, that you are never without your good, that every need is already met before you even speak it. It is the refusal to be deceived by appearances of lack, the steadfast conviction that beyond the shadow of debt, confusion, or delay, divine substance is forming the answer. The universe is governed by spiritual law, and faith is that law in motion. Just as electricity cannot be seen, yet lights every lamp, faith cannot be seen, yet brings illumination to the darkest circumstance. Many live as beggars before an infinite treasury because they look only at what they can count and touch. They forget that the invisible world is the source of all that is visible. Faith knows this truth and acts upon it. To believe only in what the eyes can see is to walk in circles of limitation. To believe in what the Spirit can reveal is to command the power that creates worlds. Faith does not wait for conditions to be perfect. It declares perfection now. It says, "All that I need is already prepared for me." And so it is drawn forth from the unseen into the seen. It holds no thought of fear, for fear is faith inverted, belief in evil instead of good, in loss instead of gain. Faith looks beyond appearances, beyond the unpaid bill, the empty account, the delayed opportunity, and says, with calm certainty, there is supply for every This inner declaration begins to move unseen forces into harmony with your desire. The channel of supply opens where doubt once stood. True faith is not a fragile thing that trembles at every shadow. It is strong, unwavering, alive with conviction. It does not bargain with circumstances or plead with destiny. It stands upright and declares, I am one with the infinite source of abundance. It is not emotional excitement or a passing optimism. It is a spiritual law that, when held firmly, compels substance to take form. The one who lives in faith speaks words of life, not fear. They do not ask, will I be provided for, but rather affirm, my supply is sure. That vibration of certainty is what draws to them the people, opportunities, and resources that fulfill their need. Faith opens the channel because it removes resistance. Every worry, every complaint, every doubt is a stone in the stream that blocks the current of prosperity. When you release them and trust, the water flows freely again. Many pray for abundance while secretly fearing lack, and thus their words are neutralized by their disbelief. The universe responds not to words alone, but to the vibration beneath them. Faith carries a vibration of peace and expectancy. Fear carries a vibration of constriction and delay. When you cultivate faith, your energy expands, your mind clears, and your actions become inspired rather than desperate. Faith must be practiced as naturally as breathing. It is not a one-time effort, but a daily alignment. Each morning you may look upon your life and say, today I walk in divine order. My supply is abundant. Everything I need comes to me easily and on time. Such affirmations are not mere sentences. They are spiritual decrees that reshape the unseen. You begin to notice new ideas, fresh directions, unexpected favor. This is not coincidence. It is the law responding to your belief. The more steadfastly you hold faith, the faster your outer world conforms to the pattern of your inner conviction. The mind trained in faith does not deny facts, but it denies their power to dominate. When a difficulty appears, faith acknowledges it but refuses to be controlled by it. Faith knows that every challenge carries the seed of solution, that divine intelligence is already at work. This mental attitude is magnetic. It attracts harmony where there was confusion, order where there was chaos, and abundance where there was want. Faith acts as a silent architect, building the bridge between desire and fulfillment with materials unseen. To open the channel of supply, you must learn to rest in faith even when appearances contradict it. This is the great test, to believe in light while still in shadow. The average mind wavers, trusting when things look favorable and doubting when clouds gather. But spiritual faith holds steady through both sunshine and storm. It says, though I see no sign, I know my good is coming forth. And because it holds that knowing, without surrender, the manifestation appears. Faith is not hope stretched thin, it is certainty clothed in patience. Faith aligns you with divine timing. When you trust, you cease to force or chase. You move with calm assurance, guided to right action at the right hour. Opportunities come because you are no longer vibrating in panic. People sense your confidence, and the world reflects it. Doors that were closed begin to open because you are no longer banging on them in desperation. They open because the law of correspondence demands it. Faith tunes you to the frequency of success, where everything needed to fulfill your desire is already waiting. Money is one of the easiest ways to test your faith, for it so quickly reflects your inner beliefs. If you secretly fear not having enough, your outer world will echo that fear. But if you know, truly know, that divine supply is endless and ever-flowing, you will begin to see that truth mirrored in your finances. Faith tells the universe, I am ready to receive, while doubt whispers, I am not worthy. And the universe, impartial and obedient, answers both voices accordingly. To cultivate faith is to re-educate your inner speech, to speak only of abundance, security, and divine order. You may say, but I have tried to believe, and still my situation remains the same. Then know that true faith is not trying, it is being. You cannot half believe and expect a full manifestation. Faith must be total, undivided, and consistent. You must believe not for a moment, but as a state of consciousness. The seed does not sprout because you watch it anxiously. It grows because you trust the process. So it is with money and all forms of supply. Once you affirm that abundance is yours, release the concern of when and how, and keep your vibration in gratitude and confidence. The great truth is that you are not creating supply, you are revealing it. Faith removes the fog of doubt that hides your treasure. You already stand in the field of infinite good. Faith simply clears your vision so you can see and claim it. As you live by faith, life rearranges itself to support your conviction. The people you meet, the ideas that arise, the timing of events, all conspire to fulfill your inner picture of abundance. The channel of supply is opened not by effort, but by the quiet power of unwavering belief. Gratitude multiplies every blessing. It is the secret alchemy of prosperity, the invisible magnet that draws more of what you appreciate into your life. Gratitude is not a mere courtesy or polite expression. It is a spiritual force, a vibration of recognition that aligns you with the abundant rhythm of the universe. When you give thanks sincerely, you open your consciousness to the divine flow that was already present but perhaps unnoticed. The moment you say thank you, even before the blessing appears, you affirm that you are living in a universe that gives generously, that every good and perfect thing is already on its way. Gratitude transforms the atmosphere around you. A grateful heart emits a frequency that nothing negative can endure. Worry dissolves in its presence, doubt cannot take root, and fear loses its grip. When you begin to give thanks for what you have, however little it may seem, that very act expands it. Gratitude is multiplication in motion. The loaf and the fishes grew in the hands that blessed them. So too will your resources increase when you bless them with the spirit of appreciation. The law is simple. Whatever you praise grows. Whatever you complain about diminishes. Life listens to the tone of your heart more than the words of your mouth. Many look at their circumstances and say, I will be thankful when things improve. But this is the language of limitation. Gratitude must come first, for it is the key that opens the storehouse of greater good. The person who waits for abundance before giving thanks never finds abundance, for they are closed to it. But the one who gives thanks for what they have, and for what is unseen yet certain, becomes a living magnet for prosperity. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to plenty, and where your focus rests, energy flows. To see even one small blessing and honor it with thanks is to invite 10 more to appear. The power of gratitude lies in recognition. It is the art of seeing divine intelligence at work in every detail of your life. The morning sun, the breath in your lungs, the meal on your table, the kindness of a stranger. Each is evidence of the unseen hand that provides. When you acknowledge these gifts, you are saying to the universe, I see your goodness, I trust your provision, I welcome more. In that recognition, you raise your vibration to match the frequency of abundance. Gratitude does not beg or plead, it rejoices, and rejoicing multiplies good. Even when conditions appear bleak, gratitude can turn the tide. It does not deny the challenge, but it affirms the higher truth that every challenge carries the seed of blessing. To be grateful in adversity is to declare faith in divine order. You may not yet understand why something has occurred, but gratitude says, I know this too is working for my good. This attitude of trust dissolves resistance, clears mental fog, and opens the way for guidance to flow. Often, the moment you bless a difficulty, the hidden lesson or opportunity within it begins to unfold. What you curse, you chain to yourself. What you bless, you release into transformation. Gratitude is not confined to words. It must be felt deeply, lived daily, expressed constantly. It is the inner smile of the soul, the quiet knowing that life is generous beyond measure. Some may say, How can I be grateful when I have so little? But the one who practices gratitude discovers that even the smallest blessings expand under the light of appreciation. To give thanks for a single coin is to invite a river of gold. To bless a modest home is to prepare for a palace of peace. Gratitude is the language of the rich in spirit, and the universe always responds in kind. Gratitude turns routine into ritual. When you rise in the morning and give thanks for the new day, you set a tone of harmony that echoes through every hour. When you handle your money with gratitude, you infuse it with magnetic power. Each dollar becomes a messenger of good, carrying your energy into the world and returning multiplied. Gratitude sanctifies every exchange. When you pay a bill and say, "I give thanks that my obligations are met easily," you affirm flow instead of lack. When you receive income and say, "I am grateful for this supply and for the greater supply now unfolding," you widen the channel through which prosperity moves. There is no situation too small for gratitude, no corner of life too humble to shine with its light. Gratitude can be practiced in thought, word, and deed. In thought, by acknowledging silently the good around you. In word, by speaking praise rather than complaint. In deed, by using your gifts generously and honoring others for theirs. When gratitude fills your heart, you cannot harbor envy or resentment, for those emotions cannot breathe in the atmosphere of appreciation. The grateful person is content yet never stagnant. They are at peace yet open to expansion. They know that to be thankful for the present is to prepare for the future. Gratitude is the great purifier of consciousness. It washes away the mental toxins of comparison, disappointment, and fear. It reminds you that life is not happening to you but for you, and that every moment, joyful or painful, is a stepping stone toward higher realization. When you practice gratitude persistently, you begin to see divine symmetry in what once seemed random. You realize that the things you once regretted carried the very lessons that strengthened you to receive greater good. Gratitude shifts your perception from what is missing to what is present, from struggle to blessing, from scarcity to sufficiency. In relationships, gratitude heals and uplifts. When you express appreciation to another, you awaken the best within them. When you focus on what you love rather than what you criticize, harmony returns. The same principle applies to money, work, and opportunity. The more you appreciate your current situation, the more it improves. If you resent your job, your income, your surroundings, you anchor yourself in stagnation. But if you bless them with sincere thanks, doors open and new paths reveal themselves. The universe cannot expand what you reject. It can only multiply what you appreciate. Gratitude is the spiritual equivalent of fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant in it, ideas, intentions, desires, grow in abundance. Without gratitude, the soil is dry and unyielding, but when watered with thankfulness, it becomes rich and responsive. This is why every great manifestation begins with a heart full of thanks. Even before the dream takes form, gratitude declares, "It is already mine in spirit." That declaration sets unseen forces in motion. The invisible substance of the universe begins to arrange itself in response to your recognition. You are no longer wishing or hoping. You are acknowledging the truth that good is already present, waiting to be revealed. Gratitude and wealth are inseparable, for one is the cause and the other the effect. The truly wealthy person is not the one with the most possessions, but the one who feels the deepest appreciation. The ungrateful soul, surrounded by riches, lives in poverty of spirit, but the grateful one, even with little, walks in the consciousness of infinite supply. The more gratitude you feel, the more you see to be grateful for, and the cycle of abundance continues unbroken. This is the law in perfect operation. What you bless expands. What you ignore fades away. Every time you say thank you, you open another door in consciousness. Each acknowledgement of good strengthens the current of supply. Gratitude tunes you to the frequency of the divine, where nothing is withheld and all things flow in perfect order. It turns ordinary moments into miracles, transforming the common into the sacred and the simple into the sublime. The grateful heart lives in a constant state of increase, for it is always aware of how much has already been given, and in that awareness, more must come. Forgiveness clears the path for abundance. It is the unseen broom that sweeps away the debris of resentment, the gentle hand that removes the stones from the river of prosperity. Many pray for wealth, opportunity, or success, yet hold hidden grievances in their hearts, unaware that these very grudges form the walls that block their good. Forgiveness is not simply an act of kindness toward another. It is an act of liberation for yourself. When you release others, you release your own energy. You cannot hold someone in chains of blame without binding yourself to the same weight. Forgiveness sets both prisoner and jailer free. The law of life is circulation. Everything in the universe flows. Water, air, love, and money all move in rhythm and exchange. Wherever there is stoppage, stagnation follows. Resentment is a spiritual clog, a tight knot in the flow of energy that cuts you off from supply. You cannot receive freely while you are withholding understanding or mercy. The current of abundance cannot pass through a heart heavy with bitterness. When you forgive, you reopen the channel. Divine substance begins to move again through your life, bringing renewal, ideas, harmony, and prosperity. To forgive is to recognize that no one has the power to take from you what is truly yours. The gifts of divine supply cannot be stolen or withheld by any person or circumstance. What belongs to you by right of consciousness will always find its way to you. When you believe that another has wronged you, and you cling to that belief, you affirm separation from your own good. You say to the universe, "My supply is in the hands of another," and the law, obedient to your belief, mirrors it back. But when you forgive, you reclaim your authority. You declare, "My good comes from the infinite, not from man," and at once the tide begins to turn. Forgiveness is not weakness, nor is it forgetfulness. It is spiritual strength. It takes courage to bless where the world would condemn, to release where the ego demands revenge. Yet only in that release can peace return. You cannot enter the mansion of abundance carrying the baggage of resentment. Each grudge is a weight that keeps you earthbound when your soul longs to rise. Forgiveness is the lightning of the heart that allows you to ascend into the higher vibration of prosperity. Some believe that they have forgiven because they have spoken the words, yet deep within, the wound still festers. True forgiveness is felt, not merely said. It is the inner knowing that nothing real has been lost, that every experience, pleasant or painful, has served your awakening. When you reach this state, the memory of the hurt loses its sting. It becomes a teacher, not a tormentor. You no longer need to retell the story, for it no longer defines you. In that moment, the energy once trapped in bitterness is released to create something new. Ideas blossom, relationships heal, finances begin to move, and health is restored. Unforgiveness often hides in subtle corners of the heart. You may have released others but still hold resentment toward yourself. Self-condemnation is as binding as anger toward another. Many block their prosperity not because others have withheld it, but because they feel unworthy to receive it. They replay past mistakes and failures, using them as reasons to deny themselves good. Forgiveness must begin at home. You must forgive yourself for the choices you made when you did not know better. Every error was part of your learning, every stumble a step toward greater wisdom. When you release self-blame, you open the gates for grace to enter. Forgiveness is also the dissolver of fear. Fear often arises from past pain, from the memory of betrayal or disappointment. The mind clings to the hurt, expecting it to repeat, and so it recreates the same pattern again and again. But when you forgive, the pattern breaks. The future is freed from the past. You no longer carry the vibration of the wound, and therefore you no longer attract its likeness. This is why forgiveness is a prosperity law. It changes your vibration, raising you from the frequency of loss to the frequency of fulfillment. Forgiveness requires faith in divine justice. It trusts that life balances all things perfectly, that every cause meets its effect without your interference. You need not demand retribution or repayment, for the law of balance never sleeps. Whatever was taken will be restored in divine order, often in ways more generous than you imagined. When you cling to the desire for repayment, you delay the restoration yourself. When you release it, you allow divine compensation to act swiftly and abundantly. Sometimes forgiveness feels difficult because the mind believes that letting go means approving of the wrong. But forgiveness does not condone. It transcends. It says, I choose peace over pain. I choose freedom over bondage. You may never agree with what happened, but you can rise above it. You can withdraw your energy from the story that keeps you bound. The person or event loses power over you the instant you decide to bless it and let it go. The blessing is not for their sake alone. It is for your own soul's liberation. Forgiveness also clears the mental atmosphere. A mind clouded with resentment cannot receive divine ideas clearly. Inspiration cannot enter a stormy heart. But when the clouds of anger part, intuition shines through like sunlight. You begin to hear the quiet guidance that leads to right action, to new opportunities, to abundance. Many discover that once they forgive, creative solutions appear effortlessly. The very energy that was locked in bitterness becomes fuel for creation. Forgiveness is not the end of something, it is the beginning of everything new. It is important to remember that forgiveness is not always a single act, but sometimes a process. Old memories may rise again, asking to be released at deeper levels. Do not resist them. Each wave carries away more of the debris. Continue to affirm, I bless and release, I am free and all others are free. These words, repeated with sincerity, wash through the subconscious mind, dissolving the roots of resentment that may have lingered unseen. Gradually, the emotional charge fades, leaving peace in its place. When forgiveness becomes your way of life, you walk in constant freedom. Nothing can disturb your prosperity because nothing can disturb your peace. You see life as a harmonious unfolding rather than a battlefield of wrongs and rights. You no longer take offense easily, for you understand that others act from their level of awareness. You cease to judge, for you know that judgment binds you to the very thing you condemn. In this consciousness, abundance flows naturally, for your energy is open, receptive, and pure. Forgiveness is also an act of faith in yourself. It says that you trust your capacity to rise above the past, to create anew, to align once more with divine goodness. It reminds you that no experience can diminish your inner worth. You are not what was done to you. You are what you choose to become through it. Each time you forgive, you reclaim your creative power. You turn from the role of victim to that of master, from scarcity to sovereignty. The outer world must reflect this shift, for the law cannot do otherwise. Prosperity is the natural state of the heart that holds no resentment, the heart that beats in rhythm with love's eternal circulation. The act of forgiveness is therefore the great clearing. It removes invisible barriers between you and your good. It restores order where chaos reigned, harmony where there was discord. It makes room for new blessings to enter. For life will not pour wine into a vessel filled with bitterness. Once the old emotion is poured out, the new wine of abundance can flow freely. This is why forgiveness precedes every breakthrough, every answered prosperity, every restoration of prosperity. When the heart is free, the path of abundance stands clear. Right words create right conditions. Every word you speak is a seed sown in the garden of your life, and the harvest will always resemble the seed. Words are not mere sounds or symbols, they are forces of creation. They carry vibration, direction, and power. When you speak, you give form to invisible substance. The spoken word is the bridge between thought and manifestation, the key that opens or closes the gates of opportunity. Life listens to what you declare, not to what you wish. The law of expression is exact. What you speak with feeling and belief becomes the condition of your experience. Right words are aligned with divine truth, and divine truth knows no lack, fear, or limitation. To speak rightly is to speak from the consciousness of abundance, harmony, and peace. The The careless tongue, filled with complaint, criticism, or doubt, scatters the seeds of disorder. The wise tongue, guided by faith and gratitude, sows only good. Every word that leaves your lips either builds or destroys, heals or harms, attracts or repels. You cannot speak of struggle and expect ease. You cannot speak of debt and expect wealth. The universe responds to the vibration behind your words with perfect impartiality. Each word carries within it a mental picture, and that picture is impressed upon the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not reason. It accepts every statement as truth and sets about creating conditions to match. If you say, "I never have enough," the mind begins to organize experience to confirm that belief. If you say, "Everything I need comes to me easily and in perfect time," the mind aligns circumstances to fulfill that declaration. The spoken word sets spiritual law into motion. It is the architect's blueprint given to divine substance, which then shapes itself according to your design. Right words are not merely positive words. They are words spoken from conviction. To say, "I am prosperous," while inwardly trembling with doubt, is to speak two opposing languages at once. The power of speech lies not in repetition, but in belief. When your words are one with your feeling, they become creative commands. The universe does not respond to idle chatter. It responds to vibrational certainty. Therefore, train your speech to match your desired reality, not your temporary appearance. Speak not of what seems to be, but of what you know is divinely true. Many people sabotage their prosperity through careless conversation. They speak of hard times, of bad luck, of never getting a break. These words, charged with emotion, become self-fulfilling prophecies. Each repetition strengthens the belief in limitation until it manifests as experience. The wise person guards their tongue as a gardener guards tender seedlings from frost. They refuse to discuss lack or misfortune. Not from denial, but from understanding that speech is creation. They speak instead of divine order, supply, and possibility, even when appearances contradict them. In doing so, they align with the invisible pattern of abundance that soon must take visible form. Bad words carry the energy of peace. When you speak calmly and confidently, your words radiate harmony into your environment. The tone of your speech is as important as its content. A word of truth spoken in anger loses its creative power, for anger distorts vibration. But a word spoken with quiet assurance carries authority. It enters the subconscious and begins to reshape reality without resistance. The one who speaks from serenity moves mountains more easily than the one who shouts from fear. Right speech is also a practice of discipline. It requires mindfulness to observe what you are saying in casual moments. Every complaint, every exaggeration of lack, every word of gossip weakens the magnetic current of your good. When you realize that each utterance has creative force, you become careful, deliberate, and reverent with language. You begin to bless instead of curse, to affirm instead of deny, to speak light into darkness. You understand that your words are spells, and you choose them as a magician chooses sacred incantations, with precision, purpose, and love. It is not only what you say aloud, but also what you whisper within that shapes your experience. The inner dialogue, repeated silently, builds the structure of your world. The thoughts you rehearse inwardly are words too, spoken on the inner plane. If you tell yourself daily that life is difficult, that money is scarce, that opportunity is passing you by, then those inner words form your conditions just as surely as spoken ones. But if your inner voice says, "I live in a friendly, abundant universe, all things work together for my good," then your outer world will mirror that song. Right words dissolve fear. When worry begins to whisper, answer it with truth. When doubt arises, counter it with faith-filled statements. Speak to fear as you would to a disobedient child, calmly, firmly, and with authority. Say, "There is nothing to fear. Divine wisdom guides me now." The act of speaking faith aloud strengthens it within you. The spoken word directs energy, it reorders the mind and calms the heart. The more you speak truth, the more truth becomes your experience. Words are both medicine and mirror. They heal when they align with the law of good. The creative use of speech extends beyond personal gain. When you bless others with your words, you amplify your own prosperity. Speak success to your friends, peace to your family, and goodwill to strangers. What you give in word returns multiplied. Words of blessing send currents of positive energy into the collective, and that energy finds its way back to you through channels of grace. Never speak enviously of another's success, for envy is a curse disguised as comparison. Instead, say, "Their good reveals the abundance that is also mine." Such words dissolve separation and strengthen the flow of universal supply. To use right words is to become conscious of the creative moment. Every situation you face is shaped by your verbal response to it. When difficulty arises, your words can either magnify the problem or call forth its solution. Say not, "This is impossible," but divine intelligence reveals the way. Say not, "I can't afford it," but "I am open to the perfect provision." Each right statement is a bridge between limitation and freedom. Over time, these declarations rewire the mind, transforming old habits of speech into instruments of creation. Even silence can be a form of speech when it is filled with inner affirmation. Sometimes the most powerful word is the one unspoken, the steady knowing that says, "It is already done." The wise use of language includes knowing when to refrain from speaking words of fear or frustration. Silence, used consciously, becomes a vessel through which divine power moves. Right speech and right silence are partners in creation. Right words spoken with faith invoke law. Right words spoken with love fulfill it. The combination of faith and love in speech produces miracles. Love softens the energy, faith strengthens it, and together they command reality into alignment. When you speak of abundance, speak with warmth, not tension. When you affirm prosperity, do so with joy, not anxiety. The vibration of love gives your words wings. They travel swiftly through the unseen and return with multiplied good. Your words are your servants, and they obey with absolute precision. Send them forth with clarity, and they will return laden with results. The universe is not moved by confusion or contradiction. It responds to clear direction. Therefore, speak as one who knows the law, not as one hoping it might work. Each time you affirm good, you are shaping substance. Each time you speak fearlessly of success, you are building its foundation. To master your speech is to master your life. When your words are right, your world must follow suit. For creation itself began with a word. Giving unlocks the flow of receiving. The universe moves in circles, not straight lines. Every wave that rises must fall. Every breath that goes out must come in again. Every heartbeat sends forth and then draws back. This rhythm is the pulse of life itself, and giving is the way you enter that rhythm consciously. To give is to declare faith in the endlessness of supply. It is to say with your actions, "I trust that what I send forth returns multiplied." The miser's hand is closed and nothing can enter it. The giver's hand is open and abundance flows freely through it. Giving is not loss, it is circulation, and circulation is the heartbeat of prosperity. There are many forms of giving. You may give money, time, attention, kindness, or skill. You may give encouragement, forgiveness, beauty, or prayer. Every act of sincere giving sends a wave of energy into motion that cannot help but return. The law of cause and effect is absolute. Every outflow produces an inflow of the same nature. The seed that leaves your hand does not diminish your garden, it multiplies it. The more you sow, the richer your harvest. Giving is not a transaction, it is a declaration of abundance, a spiritual statement that you have more than enough, and that your source is infinite. The secret of giving is the spirit in which it is done. To give with reluctance or calculation is to close the channel even as you open your hand. The energy behind the gift determines its power. A coin given in love has greater magnetic force than a fortune given in fear. The universe measures not the size of the gift, but the vibration of the giver. When you give joyfully, you send joy into motion. When you give with resentment, you send resistance into motion. The first multiplies, the second withers. Therefore give as the sun gives, freely, naturally, without expectation, knowing that what you radiate must return. Many hold tightly to what they have, fearing that if they give, they will have less, but this fear itself creates stagnation. Water that is not allowed to flow becomes stale. So it is with money, love, and energy. The more you hoard, the less alive your supply becomes. Giving refreshes your prosperity, keeps it in circulation, and invites new channels to open. Each act of generosity declares that you live in a friendly universe, one that always replaces what you release. The fearful mind says, "I must save in case there is not enough." The faithful mind says, "I give because there is always enough." The difference between the two is the difference between stagnation and expansion. Giving also clears away subconscious fear of lack. When you give from the little you have, you affirm abundance in the face of appearances. You say to life, "I trust you," and life responds with proof of that trust. It is easy to give when wealth is overflowing. True faith is to give when the supply seems small. In that moment of courage, you break the spell of limitation. You shift your vibration from need to plenty, and the universe mirrors that shift by sending increase. The measure of your prosperity is not how much you possess, but how freely you give. Giving is also a form of gratitude. It is the outward expression of your inner acknowledgement of divine supply. When you are thankful for what you have, the natural impulse is to share it. Gratitude without generosity is incomplete. It is like a river that praises the rain yet refuses to flow. Each time you give, you are saying to the universe, "Thank you for trusting me with this good. I know there is more from where it came." This spirit of thanksgiving magnetizes new opportunities, new resources, new blessings. Giving and gratitude form a circle of perpetual increase. There is divine intelligence in the timing and direction of your giving. When you give where your heart feels guided, you become a channel for higher purpose. Sometimes your giving may bless a person, a cause, or even a stranger you will never meet. Yet the energy finds its way back to you through unexpected channels. You may give money to one place and receive prosperity from another. The universe balances all accounts with precision. You are not to calculate how or when the return will come. Your part is to keep the flow moving by acting on inspiration. Divine order handles the rest. Giving expands consciousness. It stretches the boundaries of what you believe possible. Each time you give, you remind yourself that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a co-creator with infinite supply. You begin to see money not as something to grasp, but as energy to guide. You start to live from the awareness that you are supplied through every act of service, every gesture of kindness, every contribution made in love. In this awareness, the idea of competition fades. You no longer fear another's success, for you know that giving multiplies good for all. When you lift others, you lift yourself, for the law of life recognizes no separation. Giving also transforms relationships. When you give appreciation, you receive loyalty. When you give understanding, you receive peace. When you give respect, you receive cooperation. Every relationship reflects the balance of giving and receiving. If you feel lack of love or support, ask not first how others have failed you, but how you might give more of the very thing you desire. Love grows when it is shared. Withholding it only deepens loneliness. Giving restores harmony because it reawakens the universal law of exchange that governs all existence. There are those who give only to receive, yet such giving is still bound by fear. True giving expects nothing in return, yet it always receives. It is a paradox of spiritual law that what you release in freedom returns in certainty. When you no longer give to get, but give to express the fullness of your being, abundance becomes effortless. You move from the realm of transaction into the realm of grace. Life begins to surprise you with blessings that seem unrelated to your acts of generosity. But they are not unrelated. They are the inevitable return of energy sent forth in love. The joy of giving becomes its own reward. When you give from the heart, you feel lighter, expanded, uplifted. That very feeling is a sign that the law is working through you. Giving purifies the mind of selfishness and fear, for it proves to you that your supply is not finite. You cannot outgive the universe. The more you release, the more you discover how endless the source truly is. Each act of generosity carves a new channel for abundance to enter your life. To give rightly, you must give consciously. Mechanical giving, done from duty or guilt, carries little creative power. Conscious giving is an act of spiritual recognition, the acknowledgement that you and the receiver are both expressions of the same divine life. In that recognition, the giver and the receiver become one. There is no loss, only transformation. You are not diminishing yourself, but multiplying the good that flows through you. The more channels you create for circulation, the more life finds ways to fill them. Giving keeps you aligned with divine order because it reflects the nature of the infinite itself. The universe is forever giving: sunshine, air, ideas, opportunities, beauty. You were made in that image, and when you give, you mirror your true nature. To withhold is to step out of alignment. To give is to return to harmony with the creative current of existence. When you become a conscious giver, you live in rhythm with the divine heartbeat of supply. Everything you release in faith is returned in kind, multiplied by the same law that governs the stars and the tides. Giving is therefore not merely a moral duty or social virtue. It is a spiritual technology, a law of increase, a key to prosperity. Each gift you offer is a signal to the universe that you are ready to handle more, that you trust the process of circulation. Life reads your actions more clearly than your words. To say, "I believe in abundance," but to cling tightly to every dollar is to speak one vibration and act another. True faith is demonstrated through generosity. Every time you give, you write a new decree upon the substance of the universe. I live in abundance. I am part of the eternal flow of good. When you understand giving as circulation, fear disappears. You no longer ask, "What if I run out?" because you know that to run out would mean the universe itself must cease to breathe. As long as the sun shines and the heart beats, there will be flow. Giving connects you to that pulse. It makes you a living participant in the divine rhythm of exchange that sustains all creation. The hand that gives and the hand that receives are one continuous motion, one sacred act of life expressing its own endlessness.